Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today, oh man, yes, it's late for me. My eyes are probably sagging at this point, but I really wanted to get this video out to you guys because we just ended up getting announced Reset today, which was about 4.5 hours ago, at least as of me recording this video, going into June 19th for the announcement of the KvK groups for Kingdoms 27 through 90. So as we somewhat guessed, right, is kind of the high percentage play of them being split into groups of 4. This sheet also will be available for anyone who's interested. You could find a link to this in the pinned comment description. That'll be right down below. So let me give you an overview, and then we're going to dive into each group, and I'm going to touch on a couple points along with some things after we do give you the overview here to start with. So the first part is that the rank is accurate. This is going off of when all this data was collected a few days ago on June 14th when I did the top 25 or KvK preview for those stats compiled from 27 through 90 for those 64 kingdoms. All of them were compiled and ranked here, so you can also see some additional data on other points as well beyond. So each of them have a ranking. We have the 4 kingdoms that are in each group. We have the total power. This is top 7 alliance power summed up or combined. 1 is the strongest alliance, 7 is the 7th ranked alliance. Then we have the range, which is the power gap between 1 and 7. Pool range is the range for that current group from the strongest alliance to the strongest kingdom to the weakest kingdom in that group, right? So this is the power range between them. First T5 unlocked, we're using about a 43.5 mil threshold to gauge that. Castle 25s, how many? And then the number 200 player on the personal power leaderboards, right? Essentially defining by anyone above that is stronger. And so red is basically, the red color you'll see is who kind of wins that category for each of the people in the group, just to give you a few other data points. So let's go ahead and give you the overview real quick, and we'll dive right in. So we got 27 through 30. You can see 30 here is the strongest kingdom. They're also ranked 53 right now in out of the top 64, and we have power range here is 1.7 billion between their group, between for that kingdom itself. We have the pool range, or for the group pool range, is 1.215 billion, right, from the strongest kingdom to the weakest kingdom. And again, I don't mean to say weak isn't bad, just again, I'll attempt to find a different word for that. We'll just say the number 1 kingdom and maybe the number 4 kingdom might be a better way of doing it. And then we have the first T5 unlock 20 is how many players have that at least. And again, even if you combine this, it would only bring it to 8. So it wouldn't be enough necessarily. But even though the power isn't that far off, you also have Kingdom 29 here, who has 24 Castle 25, so the most. Then you have Kingdom 27, who has the highest number 200 player bubble at 9.3 million. Then we get to, and we'll come back and kind of give you a conclusive thought as well. Then we get to, and don't mind the shading, I just haven't changed that. And then we get to 33, 31, 40, and 39. You have the number 2 and number 3 ranked kingdoms, and you have number 12 and number 38. Here you also see that the strongest, and again, you can also, like I said, like the thing I liked about this is this wasn't too far. It's about 400 mil difference for the strongest alliance when you just think of it in that regard. For this group, though, a little bit wider. You're looking at 2.2 up to 4.2, so this is a little bit less than 2 billion of a difference. You can also see here that between these kingdoms, for 33 all the way to 39, the range here is 8.134 billion, so a lot bigger of a gap in this pool. Here you can see that Kingdom 33 pretty much runs each of these 3 boards as far as having the most single T5s unlocked at 36. They have 200 plus I should say, Castle 25s, and their bubble threshold is at a little over 17 mil for the number 200 player. Then we get to the third group here, which is Kingdoms 32, 34, 48, 46. They are the number 1, number 4, number 23, and number 20 and 56 ranked kingdoms. You can see that their pool range is 15.88 billion. This is actually the widest pool range that we have from the strongest kingdom, or from the number 1 kingdom to the number 4 kingdom in that group, or in a group, I should say. You have, again, Kingdom 32 kind of running each of, or leading, we should say, each of the blocks here. They have 73 players at minimum with at least one T5 unlocked. They have 200 plus players at Castle 25, and their bubble threshold is 22.7 million for their number 200 player. Then we get to the next group, which is 35, 36, 44, 41. They are the number 5, number 7, number 16, number 21 ranked kingdoms. They have a pool range a little bit lower now of 2.515 billion. You have Kingdom 36, who has 15 T5 players. You have Kingdom 35, who has 78, just one above 36, so not much of a big difference there, but 78 Castle 25s. For personal power, coming back to 36, their bubble's a little bit higher than 35s, but not by too much. 12.29 or 12.3 million for their number 200 player. Then we get to the next group, which is 38, 37, 43, and 42. They are the number 6, number 10, number 11, number 15 kingdoms. So you can see the pool range here is 1.776 billion. Again, you have 38 kind of leading the categories here. 15 T5s unlocked, 82 Castle 25s, and their bubble number 200 players at 12.3 million. Then we get to the next group, which is 45, 49, 47, and 50. Number 8, number 9, number 17, number 33 ranked kingdoms. They have a 1.8 billion pool range, with Kingdom 49 actually leading the categories here. 14 T5s unlocked, 66 Castle 25s, and 10.93 million. So just a little bit above Kingdom 45 for their number 200 player position. Then we get to, where was I right now? 52, I think? Yeah. So we're at 52, 51. And you'll notice here, once you get to 51, these are where you're just going in batches of 4. Right, so you have 27 through 50 who pretty much kind of did some semi-matchmaking, and then you have 51 through 90 where it's just every 4 kingdoms. So we got 51 through 54 here. Their pool range being 724.5.6 million, so a lot better, right, because you're under a bill. You have a tie here for T5 unlocked for 51, 53. 51 does have 48 Castle 25s, but then you have Kingdom 52 with a 10.1 million for their number 200 player bubble thresh. Then we get to 55 through 58. Their pool range is 969 million, so under a bill, right? Always nice when I can see that. They have 65s unlocked, 47 Castle 25s, and 10.1 if we round for their number 200 player in the millions. Then we get to the next pool, which is 59 through 62. Pool range being 637.38 mil. They have, with Kingdom 61, 75s unlocked. They have 50 Castle 25s. They have a 10.3 million number 200 player threshold, or bubble, we should say. And then we get to the next group here, almost done, a few more. 63 to 66. They have a pool range of 1.47, 1.48 billion, so a little bit higher here. You have Kingdom 65, who has 14 T5s unlocked, 58 Castle 25s, and 10.1 or 10.2 million for their bubble player. Then we get to the next one, which is 67 through 70. They have a pool range of 1.89 billion. Kingdom 68, or I haven't even been saying the ranks too as well. My apologies. I know you guys are looking. It's just, again, so tired right now trying to get this out for you. So excuse me on any of the small misses. But like I said, we got 68 through 70 pool range there. You got 68 with 7 T5s unlocked, 51 Castle 25s for 69, and they have a 10.2 million for the threshold at number 19, 36, 48, and 61 for their rankings. Then we get to 71 through 74 at 51, 54, 57, 59. So actually really close, right? Within 8 range there for ranks. They also, I think, have the lowest, if not close to the lowest, pool range at 491, 492 mil. You have Kingdom 73 with 65 unlocks, 33 Castle 25s for Kingdom 72, and they also have 8.88 million for their number 200 player bubble. Then we get to kingdoms 75 through 78 at number ranking 13, 40, 50, and 55. It's a little bit wider of a range here. 2.11 billion for their pool range. You have Kingdom 77 kind of leading all categories, 9 T5s unlocked, 49 Castle 25s, and 9.9 million for their number 200 bubble. Then we get to the third to the last group. We have 79 through 82, coming in at 18, 26, 49, and 52 for their respective ranks. At 1.33 to 1.34 billion for their pool range. You also respectively have 79 coming in at top for each of their data points as well. 65, 61 Castle 25s, and 10.01.02 million for their number 200 player bubble. Second to last here, we have 83 through 86, 32, 43, 45, and 58 for their respective ranks. 1.09 billion for their thresholds, a little bit less than the previous two. You have Kingdom 85 with 2 out of 3 of these leaderboard sets for 5 T5s, 41 for the Castle 25s, and 9.05 for the number 200 bubble player. And then the last group is we have 87 through 90 coming in at 34, 37, 41, and 60 for their respective ranks. 1.16 billion for their bubble range. Or excuse me, power differential range there from the strongest kingdom to the number 4 kingdom in their group. And then here you have 88 kind of taking the bait here as the kind of third strongest kingdom coming in for their pool. They have 8 T5s, 38 Castle 25s, and 9.25 million for their threshold. I also came up with an average. So this is the average power differential for out of the 16 KvK groups for the pools. The average power differential from the strongest alliance to the number 4 ranked alliance in each pool comes out to 1.08 billion. However, you're looking at the smallest end, which is, you could also argue like which pools are most balanced in that regard. And essentially what you would do here is you would say, well, okay, well, this group, right, the 71 through 74 is the most balanced. I mean, they're under 500 mil for a differential between the number 1 kingdom and the number 4 ranked kingdom in their group, with the high end here being essentially 32, 34, 48, 46, and then second highest, right, 33, 31, 40, 39. So yeah. Again, this kind of shows you guys off all the stats, and I'm sure anyone's interested to see. You're more than welcome to. Like I said, this will be in the pinned comment description down below for anyone who does want to get access to this sheet. I think my kind of initial thoughts here on how they ended up doing the group merging is, I don't know. It's weird. They kind of did this hybrid mix of, we're going to do half of the group or nearly half of the group, and we're just going to kind of do this semi-matchmaking thing with them. And you can see here where in this group from 27 through 30, right, you have the 53 ranked, 62, 63, 64, kind of middle of the, kind of like tail end of the pack, right? Which, I don't know, I just don't necessarily, I mean, this is if you're going to do this, then just do 61 through 64 rank. Why throw in 53? I don't, that part I don't get the logic, because then you look at where 61 is, and we'll scroll down a little bit here for that, right? And you pair them with 1936 and the 48 ranked kingdom, right? So you have an even wider gap. If you would have kept 61 here as an example, 61 is 5.73 billion. If you add 61 in here, 5.7, I mean, you're looking at 7.3, you're looking at 700 mil there, right? So you're lowering this by 510 mil. I mean, again, you're allowing for that group to be kind of more evenly split. This is why when we did the ranking system, we talked about how, why don't they just do 1 through 4, 5 through 8? Just keep it simple, right? That way your power ranges for each of the KvK groups is as less as possible, right? The least amount possible. So that way they are a little bit more balanced as much as you can in those matchups. However, again, you can see, right, 2, 3, 12, 38. I don't understand the 12 here, unless they're just kind of throwing numbers in. There doesn't, I mean, if I'm trying to disseminate from some of it, it looks like they wanted to try and go with, hey, we're going to pair 2 strong kingdoms with just 2 weaker kingdoms. But there just isn't enough consistency. Like we talked about that being one of the options when I did the KvK preview stats for this pool from 27 through 90, where it's like, why don't you do 1 and 2, and then you do 64 and 63, then you do 3 and 4, then you do 62, 61, right? You're kind of sandwiching from both ends, and that's one way you can pair it. It kind of feels like they might have done a little bit of that, but not exactly that. And so, I don't know, I guess to me it'd be just really curious to kind of hear from them on, where really is the method to the madness? Because, again, unless you're going with 51 through 54, once you start at 51 plus, like, you can see that there is method there. You can see the trend, which is we're just going to pair every 4 kingdoms chronologically, starting from 51 going up to 90. Like, that's pretty straightforward. But as far as how they're factoring in the matchmaking, again, I just feel like this could have been a little bit better when it specifically comes to the power range for each of these group pools. That's something that I think would have been a little bit more favorable, because then you have to look at the second point, right? And this is kind of what we're going to touch on now for the next stuff here, past the pool talk, is you have to think about how the merging is going to come up. So they're going to be going into their kind of unofficial second season. And for those of you that are curious, I can kind of show and give you an example of what I mean there. So let's go create a new character, and you'll see here that you have Burning Stars is technically your second unofficial season, right? Then you have Stars Reignited, which is SSS, 3 S's compared to 2, right? So that's how you can tell the difference. There's 1 S here, which is your main kingdom, right? So S170. Then you have SS1 or SS, which is your first merged kingdom, technically your unofficial second season. And then you have SSS, 3 S's. This is technically your third unofficial season, right? And for those that are curious, 22 through 26 actually skipped Burning Stars, and they went right into Stars Reignited. It's funny because I don't really hear a lot of people talking about this, and I don't think I saw the devs give a reasoning on why these group of 5 kingdoms skipped Burning Stars and went right to Stars Reignited, because now you have an odd number, right? And even the same thing, you have 15 kingdoms here. I mean, I don't know, but did they just want more of a pool for when they divvy them up again going 5? I don't know. I would have loved to be given an explanation on that one. But essentially what happens is that after Burning Stars, before Burning Stars comes to an end, once the season is close to ending, you will have an opportunity to merge into any of the kingdoms that are specifically in your pool. And it costs 5,000 gems as long as that kingdom hasn't hit full or max capacity, which you can find out once you get to the end. Once you are able to click on those kingdoms, and it'll tell you kind of what their migration status is if it's still open. But you'll be given, I believe it's a 2 or 3 day window on when you can go, on how long you have to where you can go and migrate out of your kingdom and go into another. So now let's consider that, right? So let's look and talk about, well, what happens if you want to go and, for example, like, let's just use an extreme here. So look at the strongest group, which, or we should say the group that has the widest power disparity. So you look at 32, 34, 48, 46, right? Well, what's to stop? Now, again, bear in mind, we're going to talk about one of the other points here in a moment, but what's to stop 46 and 48 or 34 from just joining 32? I mean, there's nothing really stopping that, right? Unless they max that kingdom out. Now, it doesn't mean everyone's going to be able to go there, but it also depends on if they're going to max that kingdom out and just say, okay, hey, you're just automatically full, we're not going to allow anyone to join. Or if they do allow maybe less people to join that kingdom versus them being able to have more people join 46 and 40 and 34. Like that type, those things we're unsure of right now, right? You essentially would kind of have to test that. You basically would have to have like 34 or something, or 34 and 48 split going to 32 and 46, and then find out how many people go to 32, and then what the cutoff is, and then how many people are able to go to 46, and see what the cutoff is. Like, you'd have to actually do some testing there. So it's probably going to be a little more difficult and challenging when you have those types of power disparity kingdoms, or power disparity within those kingdoms, to really figure that out, unless people are like heavily tracking that data, and players that are migrating or reaching out and saying, hey, just so you know, I'm migrating here, right? So you can kind of tally and count me up. But that's the thing, is that players can essentially migrate wherever they want. And so, it is interesting, because if you were to pair, let's say, the 4 strongest kingdoms up together, right, which was 32, 33, 31, and 34, do you really think you're going to have players that are just going to be like, hey, let's just join 32, and then, now you're just not really going to have that much more competition? Or do you think it's more likely that maybe 34 and 31 might maybe join some people in 33, or 33 might have some people that join 31 and 34, maybe some people leave 32? I mean, again, there's a lot of scenarios that can really play out. I just don't think it's as cut and dry, but because then you have to think about, well, is that a reason on why the developers paired kingdoms up the way they did, which is in hopes of, well, hey, maybe some of these players will migrate out of some of these big kingdoms and go into some of the other ones to attempt to balance. Usually, I will say, even if that might be a hopeful thought, it typically doesn't happen this early in a game's lifespan. Usually you have to have a kingdom going through a number of KvKs, or at least a period of time where they then figure out for themselves, okay, well, hey, I've had a great time here. I've had a great run. Like you see that in some of the rock kingdoms, where some of the big imperiums, right, are either, maybe losing some players or some alliances. They're just opting to kind of go elsewhere for whatever reasons it may be. It's just something, the point is that you don't typically see that in the first year or first 6 months of a kingdom's lifespan, where it's like they go through 1 or 2 KvKs, even if they're a super kingdom, so to speak, and they're just saying to themselves, well, let's just all leave right away because we're just not getting good matchups. I just don't think that's going to be the highest percentage thing that happens. So from here, it's, well, then you have to kind of figure out, well, how's migration going to play a part into it? Will those things actually happen? And then let's get to the third point, which is, right, what if players... because this is something that I think COD CS had replied to, or some people on, or someone on the Discord did, and they had pinged it, or had copy-pasted the quote, which was essentially saying, well, players can join any alliances they want, and they can form any alliances they want. This is technically true, right? Even if, let's say, and we'll just use kind of the big one here, which is 32, 34, 48, 46. This is true, that technically anyone can go wherever. However, what I will say is that if your kingdom is more unified, right, going into the Merge Kingdom season, it's just less likely that you're going to have, 7 or 8 billion power from 32 that's just all of a sudden going to up and say, oh yeah, cool, let's just go ahead and join 34 or join 48 and 46 in that union, and we'll fight against 32. Technically, they could do that, right? Because when you're going into a Merge Kingdom, you can join any alliance that you want from any of the kingdoms that are participating, also because you can choose your starting area. So you can easily reach out to people in those other kingdoms before the new season starts and says, hey, I'd love to join, or hey, do you have some space for us to come and play, right? We're coming over from 32 or from whatever kingdom it may be. So those are always going to be options to you. But do we think that that is likely? I mean, it's probably more likely to happen in 33 than it is to 32, just because, again, we know that in 33 there's been a little bit of, some kind of drama, if you will, and, we don't know if they are as unified as they once were, at least since we had last covered them, just to give an example. And now you have to look at, again, this is a very real thing. You can have alliances, and I'll give you a great example. In Server 2, when they went into their first merge, they ended up allying with, there was a few alliances in Server 2 that allied with other kingdoms, and then you had 2 or 3 alliances from Server 2 that were all kind of together. I think there was like TA and a few others. So I apologize, I'm forgetting this. It was GRZ and, God, I can't remember the 1 or 2 others that were there as well, but they stuck together. But then you had a few active and strong alliances from Server 2 that went to go and ally with other alliances from the kingdoms that joined into that merge season. So, again, part of it depends on, is your kingdom unified? Is it not unified? That will factor in. And then, will those players still do, I don't know if you want to say underhanded, but will some people still defect, so to speak, or still go join others? Those are kind of situations you'll have to wait and see once, obviously, you get into your merge kingdoms. And then I think the last one here is, asking, because I had to have some people ask me, what do I think about the merge system, how should they do merges? And I know I kind of touched on that a little bit. Again, my view is pretty simple, right? It's just have some method to your madness. I don't see a problem with just pairing the strongest kingdoms up each go around, or if you do something where you pair like the top two strongest, the two bottom, the next two top strongest, the next two bottom, right? As long as there's some form of consistency, to me, I think that's just the most important. And if there is some method to the madness, explain that, even if it's in a broad, vague sense, right? If you don't want to go into the super secret details, at least give us some type of a headline, so to speak. And then I think that probably covers it. I'm actually already at 25 minutes. I wasn't expecting for this one to go that long. With that in mind, I would love to hear what you guys think. Again, regardless if you agree, you disagree, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the current groups? Again, I don't think that the pool range for power disparity between kingdoms is as big when we talk about all the groups as maybe we would have thought, or maybe we're initially thinking without knowing the numbers until you probably see the data for me showing it, even though, yes, there are a few that definitely have a wide power gap. But again, what do you think about that? And if so, also, what do you have any advice for? Or if you have an idea, right? Let's say when it comes to how would you do the merging system? What do you think about that? And if you have an idea on maybe something that could be done on a level of improvement, let me know. Also, if you're in any groups where you're really excited for the matchups, and then maybe if there's any groups that you're in where you're not so excited for the matchups, I'd love to know. Let me know anything and everything in the comments down below. That is going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.